I like, click, subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. It's Netflix time. This limited series is called Midnight Mass. The 7 episodes, they're about an hour apiece, and we will cover the first episode, Book 1, Genesis. So right off the bat, we start with this horrific car accident. This dude named Raleigh survived it. He was drunk as shit. But this other lady did not. She was done deal dead as shit. Now look at this scene. He had to have been going about 100 miles an hour. It's a head-on collision, and her body is nowhere near the car. That means she flew like fucking 10 or 20 feet down the road. What in all of the fuck, Riley? So this girl did go by the name of Tara. His trial took place out in Chicago, Illinois. He was basically sentenced for 4 to 10 years, and he had to pay a restitution of $194,420. While he's in jail, he gets a letter and a bunch of pictures from his family, and they also give him a Bible. So while he's in jail, he keeps having flashbacks about the girl that he killed. So now 4 years later, we get to this place called Crockett Island, population 127. And we're introduced to this family. One lady's named Annie, this guy named Ed, and this dude named Warren. Now the way Annie talks to her son Warren, you can tell they're heavy into religion. And Warren respects his mom, but he's about to go do his own thing. And for some particular reason, there's an abundance of Neil Diamond songs in this show. Yeah. I'm not sure if he approved that or if there's some sort of message, but there you go. So anyway, he meets up with his best friend, this dude named Ochre. And they're waiting for some guy named Bowl to get off the boat. And I guess they didn't expect this dude named Aladdin to show up. I'm not sure if that's his name or they just call him that. So the purpose of them meeting this guy Bowl is to get some drugs, but he's kind of pissed off because this dude Aladdin showed up. Now why is he mad at Aladdin? Because he knows his father's a damn sheriff. But Aladdin like, man, I ain't no snitch, fuck out of here. So then they get the stuff and they riding out, and he's like, look man, don't tell your dad, it's the only person we can get drugs from. Then they ride past this chick named Lisa's house. He could tell Warren likes her. He's like, what's good? Yo, you trying to roll with the crew? But then her mom comes out like, hey, what's up, Warren? Nah, she's good. Notice how I said roll earlier? Because she's actually in a wheelchair. Now, how she got there, we don't know yet. Then we get this scene where this guy's carrying a big-ass trunk. The thing is, they don't show his face. I could have sworn I heard the trunk pounding. Then all of a sudden, he's like opening up the keys or whatever. Then later at night, we see Warren and the crew getting in a canoe so they can go to another part of the island. Basically so they can chill out and smoke their shit. Now as they're walking, Warren tells this story about why there's so many cats on this part of the island. Then he talks about how many people were buried here because of natural disasters and whatever like that. But that was happening over hundreds of years ago. He's talking about, hey, the cats survived off of their food. He's like, that's bullshit because 100 years ago, like, it would be nothing but bones. After like bodies washed up on the shore and whatnot. Now everybody's getting their drink on, but Warren doesn't drink, he just smokes. Now we find out Warren does have a crush on Lisa. Then they talk about this spot called the Upwards is supposed to be haunted or whatever, and it's haunted by some guy named Harpoon Harry. Now the legend says Harpoon Harry used to harpoon kids for their meat, but he's telling them that it's all bullshit. They were saying it's basically just a myth that was going around. And I didn't even see this at the first time when I paused it. I was like, what the fuck is that? Yes, that looked like a human figure. Now at the time, I just assumed it was a cat on the higher part of a bush because all the cat's eyes glow in the dark, you know what I'm saying? But now looking back on it, that was definitely somebody. But they brushed it off like it was just another cat. So the next day we see this boat coming to the island. Hey, Raleigh's on the boat, he's out of prison. Damn, he was only in there for 4 years, hair turned gray, he was stressing the fuck out, huh? Here we go, Annie's at the dock waiting. And this is where we find out Annie is actually Raleigh's mom. Which will make Ed his father and Warren his brother. So there you go, that's the family. And who's this lady? Okay, so this lady goes by the name of Miss Keene. She goes over to the boat and she's looking for a guy by the name of Monty Pruitt. Monty wasn't on board, he said maybe he'll just catch the next one. Alright, so the thing is, Monty Pruitt is supposed to be the pastor of this island, but he's like 80 years old, he's been senile. And she's really concerned about him not being on the boat. And then we get to this scene with this lady named Erin, we find out she's pregnant. While she's getting this news, she looks out and discovers that Riley's back in town. Yeah, she sees him through the window with Annie. Now what's that relationship like? Now the lady with the black hair is the doctor that was watching after Erin. Now this person next door is her mom. She's got to make sure she stays on even levels. She can't go up steps because she broke her hip the last time. And she's been having mild stages of dementia. She confuses Erin for Peggy, but it turns out Peggy is actually Erin's daughter. Guess it was somebody she knew a while ago. Then we see a dog getting some food, but who's feeding the dog? Turns out this guy, he's the sheriff of the town. He goes by Sheriff Hassan. Sheriff Hassan happens to be Aladdin's dad, so there you go. So he locked up this guy named Joe. I guess he's in charge of one of the factories on the island, but it turns out he got real drunk last night. He was about to throw a canoeing oar through the grocery store, but it turns out he don't have that good of aim. So he basically kept him in jail just so he could sweat it out. So when he picked up Joe, Joe was so drunk he kept talking about albatrosses and all this other crazy shit. And that's when Hassan was like, okay, he's not in his right state of mind to do anything. I'm just gonna lock him up for the night. So he gets him some coffee and lets him out. Turns out that's actually Joe's dog. So here comes Green. Apparently she don't like dogs because the dog all was doing was just barking at her, but it didn't even move anywhere. She claims the dog had snapped at her, was about ready to attack. I guess the people on the island know she's very eccentric, so they're like, okay, alright, whatever. So when they get back to the house, Ed's not there to greet him and they're about to explain why. So mom catches him up on things. It turns out 3 years ago they had some type of oil spill. And I guess some people came to the island and told them like, look, you can only fish at certain spots because they don't feel like the area was totally clean. And Ed has been having a hard time doing what he normally does. Apparently there used to be a lot more people on the island, but it's only down to 127 now. So he's thinking to himself he's looked at as the black sheep of the family because of the situation he was in, you know, doing 4 years for that, you know, hit and run or the car accident. But somehow I'm thinking it goes deeper than that. Then the sheriff gets all the townspeople together because apparently there's supposed to be a thunderstorm coming tonight. And they talk about shelters, and of course Miss Keene had to add her 2 cents in. She says, we already have shelters laid out and everything. We already have another spot that could carry twice the people. And she lets the sheriff know because apparently he's newer to the island than most of the people there. Yeah, Miss Keene's character is very, like, you know, go by the book. Thinks she knows it all because she's been around. I'll say, quote unquote, very intuitive with spirituality. I'm assuming she's going to be a big part of the show. Now, back at Riley's house, everybody's at the dinner table. Everybody's talking about their experiences. Annie's a little more laxed about it than Ed is, who is completely deterred by everything. Then Riley says something about him not going to church because it's not for him anymore. Now, everybody in his family goes to church, including Warren. He's actually an altar boy. And Ed's just about had enough of this shit. He says, you're going to church tomorrow, and that's that. Consider it part of your parole. Then we get Miss Keene trying to straighten out signs for the church. Like I said, she's very particular about her work. Now she's looking over like she's about to go towards this house. Now she knocks on the door. It turns out Monsignor Pruitt is supposed to be living in this house. But wait a minute, why does she have a key? Then she's talking to herself, thinking she's talking to Monsignor Pruitt. She's like, oh, welcome home. I'm glad you're back. But then I'm like, wait a minute. You're knocking on the door. You already had a key. Nobody came to the door. You just popped in. And you just assumed that he's just in there chilling. Then we find out this is the spot with the big ass trunk. Oh shit. Whose book bag is that? What the heck is this? Now, we don't see Pruitt, but she's just sitting there talking casually as if he's listening or as she knows he's in there or something. Now, as you can see here, the lock isn't on the trunk. Now, she's about to go towards the trunk. She looks over and some guy pops up. Apparently, that's not Monsieur Pruitt, but who is he? Then we get this scene with a cat. But then the cat gets snatched up by something in the bushes. What the heck is it? Was it that thing we saw earlier when Warren and the boys was out there? Then Riley and his dad, Ed, have a talk-to-heart. He agrees to do whatever. They get, you know, on one accord, I guess. And he doesn't even know how to hug his son. He just gives him a handshake, pats him on his back, and then just like leaves out the room. He tells him when he gets to his church it's better for him to just sit in the back and he can't have communion because of the incidents that took place with him. He doesn't feel like it would be respectful to the church. Then we see Aladdin and his dad, Hassan, praying before they go to sleep. He's like, hey, don't be texting your friends when you go to bed. You go to bed and that's that. Aladdin ain't listening. He texting anyway. Then we catch the doctor making sure her mom doesn't go upstairs. And as Riley's just chilling looking out the window, what the heck is Warren up to? Is he up to no goodery? He's like, what up, man? Just go ahead and do what you gotta do. Alright, big bro, I'm off without this bitch. And apparently even at the jail, he starts still having these crazy ass dreams. He's still dreaming about the girl that he killed. You know, the girl Tara. Then he's having visions about himself being out on a boat, like in the middle of nowhere. Then he's visualizing himself being in the church with like blood on the side of the walls. I mean, it's very simple, but the dreams for his visualizations for his dreams is off the fucking chain. So now Warren's with his dad helping out in the boat. But what did he do last night? Well, right after that, it's time for church. And it turns out both Warren and Oka are altar boys. So he was supposed to fill up the communion cups, but he found out somebody already did. But who filled them up? As everybody's getting ready for mass. Everybody attends, but Riley's even more surprised that Aaron showed up. Keep in mind, this is probably his first time seeing her again since coming back to the island. Here come the altar boys, but who is that behind them? Come on, show his face. Turns out it's this guy named Pastor Paul. He's supposed to be a temporary replacement for Monsieur Pruitt, who's apparently at a hospital, not really a local hospital, but off the island. Or so he explained. And of course Miss Keene is the ultimate usher lady. Of course she is. Now the look on everybody's faces at first, they were completely shocked because they were really expecting Monsieur Pruitt instead of this guy named Pastor Paul. But after he explained the situation and ingratiated himself to everybody, everything was all good. Then afterwards, Riley and Aaron get some one-on-one time. Turns out she was technically married. She traveled all over the place with to Hollywood, and as we already know, she's pregnant. Riley was a legal financier. He was making money, apparently was getting too drunk, and we all know about the car accident, so there you go. This is all the things they wanted to do. They never thought they'd end up back here. Turns out when he was in jail, he read up all types of books, Buddhism, atheism, like all types of religions. And after all that, it turns out he's actually an atheist. Definitely gotta keep that a secret. That's the last thing his parents or anybody on this island wants to hear. But you could tell right off the jump they were cool and they kind of had a thing for each other. Then after everybody's left, Miss Keene confronts Paul, asks him why is he wearing a golden robe, he should be wearing a green one. He says he couldn't find it, he's gotta get used to adjusted to the closets or something like that. I smell some fishiness. I'm starting to suspect something about Pastor Paul already. So then Riley's trying to figure out why Aaron came back here on purpose. So then she changes the subject and asks how is he. And he feels like at this point he doesn't really have a purpose of being here, a purpose for living, like he's thinking to himself, why am I even back on this island? Then he's thinking to himself, if that accident took me out, I wouldn't have to worry about all these things. I'm like, wow. Then he brings up the storm that's supposed to be coming tonight. She tells him, just think about getting through the storm and think about your purpose for that and what you're going to do tomorrow. And then the storm comes. Then we see Pastor Paul reading the Bible. Next to the trunk, it's open, but nothing's in there. Now, we don't know what was in the trunk, but if it was a body, a perfect time to get rid of it because of the thunderstorm that's coming over the damn... island. Then Raleigh's back at the house. He sees something out the window. He sees somebody outside with a long coat and a hat just sitting there looking out into the ocean. Now he tells his family, and he tells them, like, look, only Monsieur Pruitt comes out there like that. That's the same hat and trench coat he always wearing. But they're thinking to themselves, there's no way it could be him. But Raleigh goes out there himself just to get him. But as soon as he hears him, he takes off running, hauling ass. But at this point, Raleigh couldn't even catch up to him. Now that can't be Monsieur Pruitt, because there's no way an 80-year-old man is going to outrun you in the rain. You know what I'm saying? So after all the devastation, the phones are out, and he's still trying to call. And they're like, fuck it, let's just go outside and check everything ourselves. But when they go outside and look towards the ocean, what do they happen to see? The shore lined up in a row with nothing but dead cats and a bunch of seagulls pecking at them. I'm pretty sure they all came from the other part of the island. What in all of the fuck? Now everybody that's watched this show has told me that it's left them traumatized. So you know me, I got curious. After seeing everything I seen in the first episode, I'm even more curious. So there you go. A lot of questions unanswered, but we about to find out watching the whole show. Midnight Mass on Netflix. Check it out. Like, click, subscribe, do all that. You're on the top of this. Look, these are the Heezy Mr. Big, you got a slogan.